I'm David Ainsworth, Head of Communications at the United Nations Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity. Our Biodiversity Beat interview today is with Monica Carlotti of Plantlife International. Monica, hi.
Hello.
Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
So Monica, our viewers, not all of them know about Plantlife International. So can you tell us a little bit about the organization and what some of its goals are?
Sure. So Plantlife is a UK-based NGO, and its aim is to protect and restore wild plant diversity in the UK. It also has an international program, and it aims to shine light to the plants and put them in the spotlight for the future of biodiversity conservation.
So Monica, tell me, why is Plantlife International here in Geneva at the meetings for the Global Biodiversity Framework?
Okay. So as the world gathers here in Geneva to finalize the new global agreement to protect and restore biodiversity, Plantlife and its international partners are calling for the recognition that life on Earth depends on its extraordinary variety of plants and fungi. And so Plantlife International, Botanic Gardens Conservation International and Royal Botanic Gardens Kew have launched a joint campaign calling on the world's government to put plant conservation at the heart of the new global biodiversity framework. And as we know, our existence depends on plants, but they're too often relegated to a green background in favor of more charismatic wildlife. So 2 in every 5 wild plants are threatened with extinction, but this has to change. So these meetings taking place in Geneva are actually an opportunity to ensure that plants are put on the spotlight, that people are reminded that plants do matter, because without a focus on plant conservation for the post-2020 period, much vital plant diversity will be lost, as well as habitat function. And everyone needs to remember that from the smallest mosses to the tallest trees, they are the foundation of our planet's ecosystem, and we depend on that.
So before we had the Global Biodiversity Framework, we had the Aichi Biodiversity Targets, but we also had the Global Strategy for Plant Conservation. So when you're looking towards this, are there any lessons that we should be taking from that global strategy and bringing them into the framework?
Yes, so Plantlife has been working for the past 20 years to make sure that plants are given they're put on the spotlight for these global agreements on biodiversity. And in 2002, actually, the Global Strategy for Plant Diversity was adopted by parties to the CBD. And since then, it has guided parts of the CBD as well as the wider botanical community with significant achievements such as the identification of important plant areas in more than 30 countries, the building of the world flora of all known plants, and the global tree assessment of all known trees, as well as the Fair Wild Standard for sustainable sourcing of flora. So these were just some of the achievements by adopting this strategy, and there could be more if plant conservation was put on the targets for the period post-2020 period.
So in the current discussions that you've seen going on in the Geneva meeting here, what would you like to see change? What things should be altered to bring plants back in the center of this?
So in the current discussions, the ones that have happened so far, I have never heard the word plants apart from aquatic plants once yesterday. So definitely plants need to be considered, not only the more charismatic, as I said, wildlife, but the fact that plants are the foundation of everything. They are they provide life support to wildlife, to us, to all existing beings. And at the moment this is not recognized. No one is speaking up for plants, and they're not being mentioned in the negotiations.
So you'll make a difference for that. So what's Plantlife International going to do in the days to come?
At the moment, Plantlife International has produced a new global strategy for plant conservation, but these targets are fully incorporated with the current agenda, so they're not separate targets. And we would like for these targets to be adopted within the Global Biodiversity Framework to ensure that also plants, as well as the other living beings, are protected and restored for the decade to come.
So one more thing is, you've talked about, we've got to do plant conservation. Why should we care? Why is it important to conserve plants?
It's very important. So plants are at the heart of biodiversity, of wildlife conservation, of our nutrition and livelihood, as well as of our climate response. So we might not think about it, but they provide life support to wildlife, they capture and store carbon, they prevent soil erosion as well as flooding, they give us food to eat, oxygen to breathe and medicines to heal. So we believe that wild plants and fungi can be the foundation to help resolve our climate, ecological and societal challenges. These challenges affect everyone, but the consequences are worse for the world's poorest communities and most vulnerable. So for example, desertification or habitat destruction, they affect livelihoods and lives. And so we need to make sure that this is changed, and wild plant conservation can help improve lives, livelihoods, health, as well as reduce vulnerabilities and climate shocks caused by climate change. So really we think that wild plants and fungi can be the building blocks to solve this climate crisis, but we need to protect them first. So the national strategies that will be discussed in the upcoming weeks need to be plant friendly and have at the heart of these strategies plant conservation, which is for nature, for people and for climate. It depends our existence.
That's great. So this is biodiversity, this is climate change work, this is sustainable development, the protection of plants. Great. Well, Monica, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for your work. So wish you good hard work and good luck in the days to come.
Thank you, David.
We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you again for another Biodiversity Beat interview soon.